Call the Caroline County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. I'm going to ask Supervisor Jeff Seeley if he would lead us in invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, look down upon all of us in these difficult times and in our times of trials and tribulations around the world with causes and effects that we all bear every day. Guide us in our decisions and guide us in our ability to look forward and plan for the future in a way that will make all of us better citizens and better for the world. In His name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda is amendments to the agenda. Mr. Ashcraft.
Mr. Chairman, you received some information yesterday, but nothing of any substance.
All right. Opening board comments. Mr. Popowitz.
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Thomas.
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Seeley.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. On the 18th, Lieutenant Governor Bill Bowling will be coming to Bowling Green. I have set up with him to meet with a business owner there and to have some folks actually come and talk about business in the town and in the county. So he will be here 9 o'clock on the 18th. I think that's a Wednesday.
18th is Tuesday.
18th. So it must be Monday.
Monday's the 17th, 18th.
Okay, it's Tuesday.
Right, week from today. All right, thanks, Mr. Seeley. Ms. Roselle?
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I have, Portia did remind me that the Freelance Star doing a paper on the cannery tomorrow. But as well, I think it's important that we make sure that we communicate clearly with the George Washington Regional Commission to make sure that they're aware of all the things that we are trying to move forward on, and for them to probably have an opportunity to come down here while it's open, so we can make arrangements to do that for that group. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The only comments I have was at the National Night Out over at Ladysmith Village. Mr. Thomas, you stopped by. Very nice event. It was very well done, very well attended by not only the people in Ladysmith Village, but from I saw people from Lake Caroline, from Lake Landau, and other parts of the county. So it was a real well attended program, and they had a video on gangs and hopefully prevention of gangs. So appreciate the sheriff and appreciate Ladysmith Village coming together and making that happen.
Mr. Chairman, do you also have the letter from Governor Kane?
Yes, and if you would allow me to read that. It is from the governor. It says, "Dear friends, on behalf of the Commonwealth of Virginia, please accept my sincerest congratulations to Caroline County on being given the All-American City 2009 award. Through the hard work and dedication of the citizens and leaders of Caroline County, you displayed the necessary attributes to deserve this prestigious award. Your months of preparation, fundraising, and rehearsals have paid off for your team. This competition is a clear example of teamwork and stands as a testament to the resolve of our citizens. I would also like to commend your team leaders, Frank Hamlin and Vice Chairman Linda Thomas, for their spirit, creativity, and leadership. Vice Chairman Linda Thomas, Dr. Seuss's style poem describing the county's library system, the Don Community Sewer and Septic Program, and the Caroline County Dental Program was instrumental in achieving your worthy goal. Congratulations again on this prestigious honor, and thank you all for your work for our Commonwealth and increasing the quality of life of your residents. Sincerely, Timothy M. King." All right? Thank you. Next item on the agenda this evening is the presentations reports. Mr. Stunkel.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Number of traffic items that come up at last month's meeting, and we haven't gotten the completed studies back on any of those at this point. One thing I did check on, we're doing a speed study on Burris Lane, Road 653, but that road is currently posted at 40 miles an hour. It was posted in 1999, so we'll, hopefully next month I'll be able to come back to you and tell you what the results of all the studies are. We've essentially completed our single round of secondary mowing. We're doing spot treatment for sight distance and daylighting signs now, and we will begin the second round of mowing on the primary system after Labor Day. We have the residency has been hit somewhat in the first round of layoffs, and that the mechanics at both our Farmers and Tappahannock shops all received their initial layoff notices, as well as 2 of the inspectors that were assigned to work out of the Bowling Green office. And that first round of layoffs, the process will work through until the 24th of October, and then we're anticipating a second round of layoffs in December of this year currently. And we also anticipate that sometime this fall that we're going to see another cut to our budget. We don't know how much yet, so as information becomes available, we'll let you know on that. That's really all that I have this evening.
Mr. Popowitz?
I have nothing.
Mr. Thomas?
No, thank you, Mr. Stone.
Mr. Seeley?
No, sir.
Mr. Rozelle?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Dunkel, the only thing I have, I see the state fairs progressing really well. Have you heard any more on the shoulder? Maybe there's any additional money for shoulders, and did you get that in your plans anywhere?
Apparently the money that we thought we would be able to tap for the completion of the shoulders down there has been utilized somewhere else.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Dunkel, thank you for what you do under trying times. We appreciate everything.
All right. Thank you all.
Recommendation from the Emergency Services Commission on repair of generator for Ladysmith Volunteer Fire Department ladder truck. Hi, Ms. Chenault, how are you?
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
I need a stool. I want to thank you for this opportunity to address this issue with you this evening for Ladysmith Fire generator repair. Just prior to the Emergency Services Commission work session, we were alerted to this urgent issue and of $9,100 for supplemental funding, since there's no contingency fund with the county. And with careful consideration, the Emergency Services Commission voted unanimously that the board, we recommend that the board consider this.
Okay. Board have any questions of Mrs. Chenault or Mr. Norton?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Thomas?
No, it seems like it's something we should do. Have we identified the funding source?
Certainly Mr. Ashcraft and I talked about it, and we're just going to have to take money out of the current budget, and as we go through the year, if things get $9,000 tighter than what they are now, then we'll have to address that at that point. But I think this is an issue that needs to be addressed, and so we probably just need to go in and light the bullet, pay for the repairs, and then look at what has to be done later down the line.
Didn't we put additional funding in the volunteers budget at the last budget session?
We pulled it out.
Actually, it was cut.
We pulled it out.
I thought it was cut and then we reduced the cut?
The folks from the committee or from the commission had already cut their budget, and what we did was just restore what they had already cut.
Right, okay,
Yeah,
so
but we took the contingency fund out.
Yes.
Took
Right.
it away.
Right.
And that's what they normally would have used in the past.
Right, all right, my point was that we did have some additional funding go into there, but that's still not going to cover this $9,000, okay?
We double dipped into their accounts to begin with, and we only
Actually,
restored.
they received $10,000 less this year than prior year.
Right.
Which was like 40,000 less than what the county administrator recommended, right? Something
Right.
like that, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to go ahead and approve the purchase of or the repairs of the...
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the $9,127 to repair the generator for the ladder truck.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Rozell, seconded by Mr. Popowitz, to go ahead with the repairs of the generator for the ladder truck and Lady Smith Volunteer Fire Department. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion's carried. Thank you both of you. Appreciate
We
you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bo.
Thank you.
Mr. Fincham? Update on the Geographic Information System.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I have with me this evening Mr. Jamie Christensen from Worldview Solutions. Worldview Solutions is our GIS contractor who is assisting the county in developing its GIS program. He is here this evening to give the board a brief update on the efforts to date and answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you very much, and I'm going to do my best here to hopefully project on the screen a very short presentation to provide the board with an update on our project, and appreciate the opportunity to be here. And what I'll just do very briefly is tell you a little bit about my firm, the project we're working on for the county, and the status of the project. Worldview Solutions is a mapping consultant firm. We're headquartered in Richmond, Virginia, and so we're very nearby the county, and as part of an RFP process that took place last year, we were awarded a contract that is funded, the majority of it is funded through grant funding to do a number of tasks for the county related to building a geographic information system. Worldview works across the state. We have over 50 Virginia clients, including Spotsylvania County, Henrico County, Charles City County, Goochland County, and others, where we're doing very similar work. So we have a lot of experience in this area, and we believe that has in part why the county chose us for the project. Let me see if I can get rid of that. Very briefly, a geographic information system is, in short, a map that has data about the things on the map. And the power of that for the county is, as you know, much of the information that is being managed by departments, the planning office, utilities, sheriff's office, commissioner of revenue, much of the information they manage is mapping in nature. And currently, much of it is being maintained in a hard copy format. And so what a GIS does is allows you to take that information and bring it into a digital format and add intelligence to it. The power of that is in the power of overlaying that information. So the commissioner's office, on the one hand, maintains information about tax parcels, and the utilities office maintains information about water and sewer features. Well, with a GIS, you can actually take that information and for the first time, show it together on a map, and answer questions about that information. So for instance, with that data you can say if we have a water main break here, which customers will be impacted, and how long will it take for us to restore service. You can also answer information about if we're putting in a new subdivision, or if we're doing work in a subdivision, what impact would that have on utilities? So take that analogy and translate it to many of the departments here, and there's a lot of benefit for GIS. It really can serve and does serve in many localities as the hub for information used by departments, because most of what's being maintained has a spatial component. And there's a lot of pieces to a GIS, and I'll talk more about what we're doing in that regard, but it really does involve data, hardware to work with the data and software, and then methods to maintain that information, and most importantly, people. And we believe our project is addressing all these aspects of a GIS. So let me very briefly take you through the project we're working on now. The first task, major task, is really a strategic planning task, and the idea there is to do two things: to build a document that does one thing, it really assesses the current way that mapping information is being used in the county. So that comes up, it's a very technical document that says here's how mapping is being maintained and here's how we move forward. The second document is a plan document that lays out over the next 5 to 10 years what ways the county can use applications, what resource requirements are there, and what scheduling requirements are there. And the goal here is to provide a roadmap for the county in its implementation of GIS. As many of you know, funding for GIS can come from a lot of sources, and one of the things that many of these grant sources look for are these sorts of plans in place. So for instance, one of the major funding sources for this project is from the E911 Wireless Board. And the county obtained a large grant to provide this project, and one of the things that the 911 Wireless Board looks very favorably upon are localities that have a strategic plan in place to address GIS. Second is our firm will be taking on a fairly significant amount of conversion of data. So we'll be taking data from the commissioner's office, from the planning office, from the utilities office, from the sheriff's office, and then a number of administrative data layers, things like police or sheriff's districts, fire districts, voting districts, and converting all this information that currently resides, for the most part, in a hard copy format and turning it into a digital format. The third task, major task in the project, is to build really two web applications for the county. One will be an internal web application that will be available for county staff to answer questions about data, and the second will be a public web access application that will provide a subset of that data for the public to gather information from the geographic information system. And the fourth, and don't want to sideline this at all, probably most important piece of the project is to provide the county with documentation on the project and then training on how to use the system. Our goal is to provide tools that are easy to use, simple, intuitive, powerful, but you still need to provide training to staff on how to work with the system. So those are the very four sort of major tasks in the project: planning, conversion, tool development, and then training and documentation. Here's where we're at. We've conducted a couple of strategic planning meetings and are working on interviews right now with key stakeholders in the county and outside the county. We have acquired all the source documents for our conversion. That includes plats, tax maps, utility as-built drawings, 911 maps, and we've completed a pilot project for the equivalent of 2 tax maps in the county. And we have built an initial website that provides county staff with the ability to look at that pilot project. As you saw, I showed a screen capture here in this previous slide of that pilot area. And that's an internally accessible website currently. And so that's where we're at. We're moving forward now into full production and are very excited about the project. It offers the county a lot of opportunities right now to really manage this information more effectively and to provide the public with better access to that information and to actually provide more informed decisions on using that information. Moreover, as I mentioned, there are a lot of funding opportunities out there that are linked directly to GIS. So if you look at stimulus funds, state funding, grants coming from a number of organizations, many of those have a GIS component that the county can use now with this data to gather more funding. So I would certainly open it up for more questions. I do have a very slow internet connection that I've got on my wireless card and can make an attempt to show you the pilot project area if you're interested, or just answer questions you have. And again, appreciate the opportunity to come here tonight to talk to you more about the project.
Board have any questions?
I just have one.
Yes, sir.
Once the system's in place, how easily updatable is this? Because, we're doing a lot of different things here in the county.
That's a great question, and probably the biggest challenge for maintaining a geographic information system is that sort of plan for maintenance. And so one of the things we're working on with the different offices is coming up with a workflow that will allow them to maintain the data. And that really is a key part of this process. And one of the things I would say to that is that what we've tried to do is really provide the tools so that, for instance, when the commissioner, when she would like to put in new information on her tax map, she can do it on her computer, and then automatically she can print a new tax map that will have that information on that tax map, so that she won't have to go to her tax maps and mark them up. She can do it on the computer, and then automatically a tax map will be available for her online, but also in a hard copy format so people can still come in. And that's a key part of the maintenance, is that you don't want to throw away these really useful tools like tax maps, for instance. So one of the things that we're really focusing on is coming up with those workflows for who's going to be responsible for the data and how will they maintain it. But that is covered as part of this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thomas?
Yes, Mr. Christian, I've got a few. I didn't see in this PowerPoint that you handed out, but I thought I saw on the slide that you're using ArcView?
Yes, sir.
As a basic tool?
Correct.
Okay. It's been a while since I was involved in GIS, but I seem to recall Esri is more of a shape-based system as opposed to a linear-based system. Is that still true?
It has changed significantly, at least in the last 5 years. So right now, the data that we're developing is stored in what's called a geodatabase.
Right.
And stored in, right now, currently the system has about 150 different data layers in it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but...
Well, originally, Esri was very good with shapes, so they could do basically land areas, and they were using DEQ a lot, and road design or pipes and things used a competing system. And I'm wondering if, we're going down the road with that particular system. I want to make sure we're going to be able to cover both types of
Absolutely.
data.
So I'll give you an example. My firm is working on a fairly significant project for VDOT that uses, it's called their RNS, or Road Network System, and it uses linear referencing.
Right.
What in the past would have been a CAD-based tool for doing linear referencing so they can do routing, and that's 100% in the Esri environment.
Okay.
So part of what we'll be delivering is in your utility system, in the utility data, and in the road data, you'll be able to, the data will have intelligence, so that if I click on a manhole, I can traverse that pipe all the way to the pump station. So it does have that linear referencing capability now.
Yeah, now that...
Which is a recent development in the software.
All right, so it's ArcView, Esri, AutoCAD related. It's based on AutoCAD, your
No, it's 100% ESRI software.
Oh, okay.
No AutoCAD component. Now, AutoCAD can play a part in feeding data into the system.
Okay, because I thought we had AutoCAD-based data or MicroStation-based maps or something of that. We don't?
We have some AutoCAD data from the development of the utility systems.
Right.
We also had some AutoCAD-based data with the original street address maps that were developed, all of which now, in part, will be incorporated into this new program.
So we're going to use those as that graphic layer, we're going to use that as a base, and then you're just going to attach metadata to each particular graphic layer or graphic part.
The AutoCAD files will go away. They won't be necessary anymore. And so all the data will be stored in this geodatabase.
All right, that's kind of interesting. The other thing, in your scenario, you mentioned when the commissioner updates a record or whatever, we're currently using looking for the right word, but a fairly old mainframe type of application.
Correct, the AS400 system.
Yeah, you've got an interface written so that there's one update. When she updates, it'll automatically go out and update the metadata?
Absolutely. That's a great question, and that's a critical component is that the two external systems that we'll be integrating with, one of them is that AS400 assessment database.
Right.
And that will provide a live link so that when you click on a parcel, it'll bring up in the AS400 the appropriate ownership assessment information. And then the other system that we'll be connecting to is on the sheriff's office, the dispatch system. And that's a critical piece that the data we're developing will be fed into that dispatch system so that when a 911 call comes in, they'll be looking at the most current, most accurate mapping data that's available for the county.
So the Commissioner of Revenue will have access to the data, but not necessarily the graphics, since their system doesn't have that capability, or is that possible?
They will actually have access to the graphics, not from the AS400.
Through the AS400?
Not through the AS400. So
Oh.
they would still need to go to that website or other tool like ArcView and bring up the graphics, type in the owner name, zoom to that parcel, and then it would connect directly to the AS400 there. The AS400, as you said, is a fairly black box type solution, very closed solution. So we can connect to it, but we can't. What's that?
Archaic was the word I was
Correct,
looking for.
yes, right. So that, I mean, it does certainly do a good job of what it's doing, but it does not provide functionality where from the AS400 they could look at the map.
So in that sense, they'll have to have two workstations, basically, because one is a dumb green screen application for the AS400. They'll need a PC or something to access the web and then show the graphics.
Correct. And the nice thing is they won't be duplicating their efforts, so if they enter in information in the AS400, they'll see it on the map automatically. So they won't have to enter in data twice.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. They would need to go to that separate system to continue to access and enter in that new assessment information.
So in the future, if we want to have the Commissioner of Revenue's office have full access to this type of system, we'll probably have to look at more equipment in their office, which is probably not part of the project that you've got here. It's something we have to consider. Okay, last question is, when will I be able to point and click?
So our internal goal is to have, a publicly facing website up and running by the end of the year.
By the end of the year?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The internal website will be done before that?
Yes, sir.
So I'll be able to click sooner because I'm
Absolutely. So from the outside, you wouldn't be able to click, hopefully, again, by the end of the year. Internally, absolutely. We actually have an internally facing website ready now. And as we load data into the system, it'll become available.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Seeley?
In the ESC meetings, we've talked about some of the E911 problems we have with districts not actually laying out correctly to the 911 system. Will this fix the districting problems that we have for 911 for dispatch and those kinds of things? Are we going to be able to reverse engineer this or no?
Yes, so that is absolutely a critical concern, is that you want to be able to route to the correct district when calls come in.
Right.
And the system as is currently set up does not do a great job of that. And that's in part because the data, when it was initially loaded into the system, was loaded in a way that didn't really do a very good job. So one of the things we're very focused on as we work on the addressing and road data is putting in the correct district information. For example, if you have a road that is on the border of two districts,
Right.
the right side of the road needs to be addressed to one district, the left side of the road needs to be addressed to the other district. Currently, that's not the case. And so that's part of our process, is to make sure, again, that when a 911 call comes in, that you're dispatching that call in a way that is appropriate and gets folks to the right district.
So this will solve that, and it won't be as complicated as it is now then?
I certainly can't address the complexity part of it in the dispatch piece,
Okay.
but I can tell you that the data that you'll be getting is going to be very good. The second piece, something we're working on, is that when a call comes in, it will not only dispatch to the road and the approximate location on the road, but it will also have the exact location on the correct building. And we'll also have, there are new aerials that have been flown and will be available later this month for 2009 that will be available. So the dispatcher will be able to look at an aerial photograph from this March to see what the lay of the land is.
Okay.
But the district question, That's one of our goals, is to improve the quality of that data. We're absolutely aware of that issue.
Excuse me. Those are VDOT quad sheets, the ones when you talk about the aerials?
No, sir. Those are actually the state, every 2 years flies the entire state.
Right.
And it's done through what's called the Virginia Base Mapping Project.
Right.
And those are done in these 10,000 foot by 10,000 foot cells. So they actually are in a different, absolutely it's on the grid, it's on a different grid. And what's great about that program is that data is available free to the localities.
We like that.
And it's updated on a regular schedule. So your last aerial was flown in 2007. 2009 will be delivered. In the same year it was flown, and in 2011 they'll be flying again. So it's a great service provided by the Commonwealth and provides a really great base to create all this other information we're making.
Thank you.
Mr. Rozelle?
Okay, now I don't know if this gentleman can answer all my questions, but I guess we have a contract with your company for how long?
So the current contract we have goes through 2010, and we started work in March of this year.
Okay. And the, I guess the annual, what's our annual cost for the maintaining the contract? I mean, what happens after 2010?
Well, the county has, as part of the current contract, the option that what we're anticipating and what we really are strongly hoping will occur is that the county will be able to, once the project's over, we'll have the staff and resources in place to maintain the system on their own. This is the ideal scenario. We do have an option in the contract for the county to, for a short period of time, engage with us to maintain that data on a quarterly basis. I believe the cost of that is $1,500 a quarter or something approximate to that. So part of that is really for the county, I think, hopefully to embrace the system, take it on, but there are limited resources in terms of being able to maintain the system.
Okay, and just
But I want to emphasize that everything we're creating as part of the project, the county owns, all the source information, source code, all that is owned by the county. You're not buying anything from us, it's licensed. You own every single deliverable that we provide. So you're not on the hook for maintenance by any means.
all right. And I guess the other thing is, mainly for our staff and to the rest of the board, that when the time comes that we want to develop the public web part of it, that I think, you know, we need to be very conscientious about how much do we really want to put out there. Of course, you can go to the commissioner's office or courthouse and see these things, and I'm just concerned about how easy we make it for, you know,
People with
some of
bad
this
intentions.
information in the wrong hands. And, you know I can Google it, and I can go to, you know, some other websites and get a lot of this information, but that's their liability, not mine.
Yes, Mr. Rozelle, those decisions will not be made until the board has, until you've had your input on that and given us direction as to how you want to proceed. We're not going to make those decisions on our own.
Okay. All right, I just didn't want to see it
And this
live and then.
This is
Exactly.
absolutely not an all or nothing type of scenario either. You really do have the ability to pick what it is you want to provide. And so I think this is public information, but it's a legitimate concern, and that part of what you want to balance, obviously, is how easy do you want to make it for some of this information to become available. So that's certainly a
Thank you for your report.
thank you.
Mr. Rozelle, I just wanted to add, we've had some of those same internal discussions with our steering committee as well. We've seen examples and discussed with Mr. Christensen localities that have a lot of that